life on a piece of paper, held by a magnet on the refrigerator, said it all. You can't change the mind of an 18-year-old. Cloud of dust coming from a Gran Torino, taking off. Population, one less restless soul, runaway to below.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Unexplained Reality with me and him.
Harrison Quinn. It's a bit extra.
Yeah, well, that's how I roll. Harrison is back for about 2 hours before he leaves out on a beach trip, so he's graced us with his presence to do this epic episode. He's very excited.
Obviously.
He's oozing with excitement. Hope everybody had a good week. Things are going okay here. Harrison's about to go real good because he's about to head for the coast of South Carolina for a week. Mm-hmm. That's cool. As usual, you guys can hit us up on our email, unexplained.reality@yahoo.com. Love to hear back from you. We got some feedback this week. It was all good. Happy about that. Got some good responses about our interview last week with Richard. That was a great interview, and some great EVPs, which were included on that recording. So you can also, I don't think I mentioned this, unfortunately, in the in last week's episode, but we uploaded some videos and stuff from Richard that he, a couple videos he had taken during investigations, and they're on our YouTube page, our YouTube channel.
Our YouTube channel.
So if you want to find our YouTube channel, just look in the show notes and get the link, or you can just probably go out the YouTube and search us on YouTube. So it was a great talk with him, and I look forward to having him back on. Harrison does too. And maybe in the future we might have some activities we can get involved with together. Include him on. It was great. After talking to him, Fran Reiser, who was also was a co-author, one of the co-authors of the book, she contacted me on. We kind of made friends on Facebook, and she contacted me and actually sent me. Today, I just received a complimentary book from her. So I'm looking forward to reading that, and we will be having her on in the future. I'm a slow reader, so she just has to bear with me because for some reason I just don't read fast. So anyways, let's see. As usual, you guys can hit us up on our email, as we said, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just look for Unexplained Reality, or you can look in the show notes and get the links to all that. I probably will be doing something with that Facebook, because I don't think I created that right. I created a Facebook page, and somehow it's all linked to my personal account somehow. I don't know. I'm not happy with it, so I'm going to try to change that into a page if I can figure out what to do with that. So look for that change coming forward. You might have to send, if you're friends with us on there or like us, then you might have to do something else to come to the new page. But I'll post it all up, and we'll update you on the next episode if I get around to it this week. Let's see what else. So, got anything for us, buddy?
News-wise, you mean?
Whatever. News, if you want to go ahead into that. If you got something else you want to say. Tell me I've got a tater head, or...
you do have a tater head.
Well, everybody knows that. Anybody knows me knows I've got a tater head.
I mean, everybody not knows. They can't see you. So
well, the people that know me have seen me.
If they know you, yeah. But if you don't know, Brian Quinn has a massive tater head.
Yeah, self-proclaimed taterhead.
Put that out there.
Yes.
But if we're going to get into news, I think one of the most important things today, as for news in the recent weeks, is net neutrality. And I know this is a lot of people have been talking about this, and there's not been a lot of coverage on it. I didn't understand what net.
I don't have any idea what that is.
I'll explain it, but I didn't have any idea what net neutrality is until a couple days ago, actually.
Actually, I've heard the term. I should know it would be in IT, but I don't really know what it is.
Net neutrality is something that protects people, protects their privacy online, and protects freedom of what they want to look at. Because if net neutrality is gone, say, for example, you have AT&T as your network provider for your internet,
Right.
They can slow down your internet speed. If you were to go to DirecTV, their website, they could slow down the internet speed that you get from that, and they could speed up their internet for their website. So they could completely block you from accessing any website they want to. So I mean,
they could be like China.
They could be like China. That's exactly what Mom said when I said that. They could censor anything they want to. It's very, it revokes.
No internet for you.
Yeah, it revokes freedom of our internet. It's very. I really don't know how to feel about it. I feel bad honestly about it, but I feel like this shouldn't even be a problem. Nobody should have to discuss this. But it's the big politicians who have their hands in the big internet provider companies' pockets, and they're taking money out of it as well.
Of course.
So we've got that. That's one of the biggest things. You want to do a news story? We can do in between.
Yeah, I can do that. Let me look it up here on the computer.
Well, I thought this one was interesting. This comes from HuffingtonPost.com. I didn't even hear about this until I saw it on here. About an elephant in Sri Lanka that apparently got sucked out into the ocean by, I guess, a rip current or something. It says an elephant washed out to sea on Tuesday has been rescued by the Sri Lankan Navy. Lieutenant Commander, I'm going to butcher this, Chaminda Walakuluga told the AFP that the Navy embarked on the rescue mission when people spotted the animal struggling to stay afloat several miles from the island's northeast coast. Several miles. That's crazy.
Way out in the ocean.
Poor elephant.
I mean, can you think being one of the people on like a Navy, like a destroyer or something? You're just going through the ocean. You look over the side. There's just an elephant down there looking up at you. You're just like,
oh,
how'd you get out here?
What in the?
Oh my gosh! There's an elephant in the ocean. Says Navy personnel told the Guardian that the elephant was caught in a current off the coast near the town of Kokalaya, whatever, I'm butchering that one too, and dragged into the ocean where it was spotted during routine patrol. The video is pretty crazy. Poor elephant. I mean, he was like just about completely submerged. He was holding his trunk just above the water. Just unbelievable. Apparently, it says that elephants are very good swimmers. No kidding, because who knows how long the poor thing had been out there. Poor guy. But they rescued him. He's all better. So, that's awesome. The next one comes from... and if you hear some background noise, apparently the neighborhood kids have decided to play right in front of our studio.
Yeah, see, they have hoverboards, and they decide that they're the best time to mess around on their hoverboards is when we're coming into the neighborhood and when we're recording.
Yeah.
So they recording, you might not be able to hear them, I don't know, but us coming into the neighborhood, they like to swerve all over the road. They don't just stay on the sidewalk, because we do have a sidewalk, but they don't use it. They use the road.
It's for people walking.
It's
a sidewalk.
No one walks on the sidewalk.
It's not a side hoverboard.
Well, that's true, but the road isn't for hoverboards either.
Whatever. Dang.
Go ahead if you want to.
But yeah, so you might hear some humming or hooping and hollering out there. So, anyways, this comes from cryptozoologynews.com, and it's a Bigfoot encounter in Texas. Big Sandy, Texas. A man says he saw a Bigfoot creature in eastern Texas. No kidding, eastern Texas?
That don't ever happen. They just don't have them out there.
Just kidding. Which is where the big thicket's at and all the Bigfoot activity in Louisiana. DB, what is this? What? I messed something up. Okay. DB of Marion County, Oregon. I'm confused now. Told Cryptozoology News on Saturday that he was on vacation in Texas when he spotted the unusual creature. It was in June, 5:30 in the evening. The 60-year-old retiree said. The man claims he was able to watch the animal for about 10 seconds while driving to Big Sandy. It was hopping. I'm guessing it's supposed to be hopping. It was hopping on the side of the road when it darted. I'm thinking I'm supposed to say darted across the highway. We were the only car coming at that time on the rural road, he added. The big ape, explains DB, was black in color and could run very fast. Last June, a man also from eastern Texas says he was fishing on the Trinity River when he recorded images of what he called a Sasquatch. In 2015, the Texas man said he had an encounter with Bigfoot and that the monkey-like being had even smiled at him. I'm pretty sure he wasn't smiling. He's like, "You're going to be supper if you keep messing with me, Buster." Haven't you seen the Jack Link commercials?
Exactly.
Don't you know what I can do with you? Anyway, so that's pretty cool. Bigfoot there. I love Bigfoot stories. This one was cool. This one is real close to home. This lake is actually maybe not even not even an hour from here.
Which lake is it?
Lake Norman.
Yeah.
This is Huntersville, North Carolina. It says multiple people spot dinosaur in North Carolina. A man from Mecklenburg County on Sunday said he saw a dinosaur-like creature. Mecklenburg County, for those that don't know, is where Charlotte, North Carolina is. Says 35-year-old BT, a salesman who provided a full name but asked to remain anonymous, told Cryptozoology News that he was at Lake Norman on a boat with his friends when the animal showed up on Saturday morning. I was on a boat with my friends, he said. We were near the lake's main channel when we saw something splashing around the water. He described the alleged creature as a 10-foot-long dinosaur reminiscent of the mythical Loch Ness Monster. He added that the animal was visible for about 1 minute before disappearing back into the water. There were no photographs or videos submitted with the report. In 2016, a man from the same area reported seeing a reptilian being swimming at Lake Norman. In 2015, a man claiming to be a park ranger told Cryptozoology News he had seen something that looked like a dinosaur eating a duck at the same lake. Reports of lake monsters are rare. In 2014, a Canadian... Okay, that gives another stuff. But that's pretty cool because... yeah, that's just up the road. So that's interesting. I didn't know they'd had a couple sightings up there, so... Might be something we need to look into, huh? Yeah. No? Yeah. Okay. That's all I have, I believe, for the news. Do you have anything else to add, young Harrison? Come on, give us something. I know you had some stuff. You had some current stuff.
There's actually a case going on right now in Pennsylvania. Pretty crazy case.
Dun, dun, dun.
Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah, that's very sad.
Yeah, you should.
I know what you're talking about. I shouldn't have done that.
Pennsylvania man, he actually confessed to being involved in the killing of 4 men. I'm not exactly sure how they found their bodies, but I know right now that when earlier, just a couple hours ago, when we were watching the news, that they had found 4 bodies and they were still digging because the hole had gone deeper. So they were still digging to see if they could find anyone else.
I don't know the whole specifics because I was shocked because I hadn't heard nothing about it in the news. But I don't know that I've really watched the national news so much lately. But I saw it on CNN this morning and listened to the little report. And I don't know how they found this guy or how they tied them together, but apparently they suspected him and they went to his farm and it took cadaver dogs, and his parents own like, I don't know, I want to say like 95 acres, 65 acre farm, something like this. You know, it's a little bit under 100 acres, I think. And they actually own 2 parcels, and they went out there and searched them, and the cadaver dogs hit on this area, and they started digging, and that's when they found the bodies, which is amazing that cadaver dogs can pick up on that. And it was like the first body was found at like 12.5 feet or something like that. That's incredible. It's very sad. I don't know what the circumstances are of it, but those families are definitely in our thoughts and prayers. That's just, I can't even imagine. That. That's just crazy. There's a lot of twisted, sick people in this world, and it's, I don't know, very sad. You got something else?
What's it for me?
You had the one about we heard about earlier about the was it Virgin Islands?
Oh, yeah. There's this island in the Caribbeans where I'm sure you might not recognize it from what we're talking about, but I'm sure you've probably seen it before. There's a lot of videos of it. It's an airport on a teeny little strip of land. It comes like almost a W, and where the W like stick out in the middle, that's the land, and then there's water on both sides of it. And that's that one area right in the middle is the runway, and it's a real very short runway, which is why it's so close to the beach, and it's right next to the beach. So you have to, when they come in, they're coming just over the water, and they're landing about 100 feet away from the water. So I mean the airplanes are very close to the water, and people go and actually hang on to the fence outside of the airport. And the jet engines blast people, and that's like a tourist kind of attraction in that specific island. And this, sometime this week, either this week or past weekend, a woman was there, and everybody was hanging on to the fence from the jet blast, as people do, and it knocked her back. She lost her balance, and she fell back and fell into a concrete barrier, and she unfortunately didn't survive. I mean, this has been going on. This exact, phenomenon's been going on for a very long time. I've seen videos from a couple years ago of people doing it. I mean, it's a very common thing for a long time, and it's sad that people don't take their safety into
life
into precaution when they're doing something like that. And it's been going on for so long now, and someone finally paid the price for doing something that just non-caring about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen, like you said, there's been videos and videos about it over the years, and I actually know a few people that have been there to that airport and to that beach right there at that airport, because the planes come in just like, just I don't know, 15, 20 feet above that beach when they come in to land, because they've got to be able to slow the big planes down.
Yeah, it's a very slow or a very low landing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how they don't scrape the fence. If I was a pilot, I probably would scrape the fence at least once with the landing gear.
That's crazy, but yeah, that's very sad. All right, well, I guess we can roll into the meat of it here. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Rendlesham Forest Incident. This was a suggestion from a listener we have in the UK. Richard asked that we do this story, and so that's what we chose for this week. And I had heard about this for quite a while, but I've never really dug into it, so it's kind of interesting. I didn't realize that it was a lot of things about it, so I won't get into too much. But you want to lead it off, buddy, or you want me to head on to it?
I think you should lead it off.
Okay. The incident's called the Rendlesham Forest Incident, and it happened in 1980. There were a series of events that took place in Suffolk. Suffolk. I don't know if I say that right. I apologize. I'm butchering. I can't speak tonight. So in December of 1980, there were a series of events that took place in Suffolk, England, in the Rendlesham Forest, or in the vicinity of the Rendlesham Forest. The forest is about 5.8 square miles of forest area. It's owned by the Forestry Commission there in England. It's a large pine forest, and it's situated between RAF Bentwater and RFA Woodbridge bases, which are Royal Air Force bases, or they were at that time. And at the time of these incidents in 1980, both of those bases were being leased by the United States Air Force. And so the personnel that were on these bases were primarily United States Air Force personnel or U.S. military personnel. So in the early morning hours of the December 26th, roughly about 3 a.m., a security patrol was checking the east gate at RFA Woodbridge when they witnessed a light go down into the Rendlesham Forest. So, obviously suspecting that this could possibly be some kind of aircraft that went down, a crash or some sort, or emergency landing. The patrol guys, security patrol, called in what they seen and asked permission to leave the base and head into the forest to investigate what had happened. So they were given that permission. So 2 patrolmen were joined by a third person, and they left the base and they entered the forest. And basically they went towards the direction of where they saw the light go down. And then they witnessed, as they got into the forest, they witnessed a glow coming from that location, which was about 1 mile from the east gate of RFA Woodbridge, which is where they were at when they originally saw the light. So there, the 3 men encountered what they described as a triangular metallic object about 2 meters by 3 meters in size and about 2 meters in height. The object appeared to be hovering or sitting on some type of landing gear in a clearing there in the forest. And they described the object as giving off light. I don't know. I mean, it was metallics, obviously. I don't think you shine light through metal unless it's super thin. But I think what they meant is just the lights on the object were glowing in such a way that it lit up the forest. And on top of this craft or object, they said that it had a pulsing red light. And on the bottom, it had a bank of blue lights. And as they approached the object, they said it maneuvered kind of away from them through the forest and then eventually disappeared. However, after it disappeared from the forest, the men said they heard animals on a nearby farm. So outside of the forest, you have the 2 Air Force bases, or the RFA bases. And then you have it's a very rural area, so they had a lot of farmland and pasture land, I guess. And so the nearby farm, they heard all these animals having a fit outside of the barn there. And so, I mean, they don't know, obviously, that it was because of this thing. It was coincidental, but, it seems, if you want to draw some conclusions here, that maybe these animals are having a fit by whatever these guys had just witnessed. So who knows? But then the following day, investigators went back out to the site in the forest where this object was witnessed. They found 3 indentations in the ground in a triangular pattern. The indentations were about 7 meters in diameter. 7 inches in diameter, and they were about 1.5 inches deep. I think there was some scorch marks also witnessed in a few areas. Like heat was present. Not like, I don't think it was anything real bad. Just like something certain areas had been heated up. And I think a day or so after the incident, they had taken some radiation readings at the site, and they found some of the areas to be higher than usual. They said that the readings at the indentations in the ground and the center of the triangle were the highest readings. I believe they also got higher than normal readings on the inside of the trees of the clearing, the ones that would be facing the craft. However, none of them were, significantly high, just higher than what you would expect to naturally occur. That night, the next night, lights were once again seen during the night. This time, witnesses had described the lights as separating into other lights. I think it was somewhere around 5. I've heard 3 and I heard 5. But some of these lights, what was interesting is they began moving and would at times shine a light down on the ground like a spotlight. So it was kind of interesting, and people witnessed it move across the land there in the farmland. So they were flying through the farmland, flying through the forest. They saw these other lights with this like spotlight action happening underneath it. It's interesting because the majority of the witnesses that saw this activity were military members, and in fact, one of them, the highest ranking one, was the deputy base commander at the time for RAF Bentwater and RFA Woodbridge. His name was Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt. One of the other guys was Sergeant Monroe Nevels, Sergeant James Peniston, A1C John Burroughs, A1C Edward Kabensag, and Sergeant Adrian Bustinza. There was also another one, A1C Larry Warren. He's very controversial for some reason because his recollection of what happened is very different from the others. So I think after these incidents happened, supposedly some of these people that witnessed it were military people. They were subjected to like drugs and hypnotic, I guess, regression or hypnosis. And some people believe that this Larry Warren was, like his mind had been, I can't remember what the term was, like his mind had been messed with by, I guess, the government or whatever, in regards to this incident. It was very interesting because a number of these guys had, some of their accounts were, they were all pretty similar, but like Sergeant Monroe Nevels, he claimed that the lights while they were on the ground were producing flying debris, and the debris was being shed like he put quote unquote shed like molten steel in a boiler pot. I thought that was interesting because there's been quite a few videos of UFOs supposedly taken that showed that phenomena with like the melting, looks like melting metal coming off of it, like dripping. I think if I recall right, there was one really, really crazy one a few years ago off the west coast. I want to say off the coast of California, somebody recorded, and there was all speculation. Oh, it's a helicopter, but it still didn't explain this glowing metal, dripping metal looking stuff coming, off, dripping into the ocean. It was crazy. And over, throughout the years, a number of them had different, had made different quotes and had different interviews, and it was kind of interesting that when this took place, the MOD in Britain, which is the Ministry of Defense, they claimed that they never investigated the Rendlesham Forest Incident because they claimed this was not a, basically was not a, what's the word I'm looking for? Not a threat to national security. There was no reason for them to investigate it because it was just people saw some light, saw some weird stuff in the woods and blah, blah. However, it was later uncovered that they had a pretty extensive file at the MOD on the Rendlesham case incident. Rendlesham Forest Incident. And so, I mean, obviously they were worried about something. And another thing that's interesting to note here is that those two bases there, RFA Woodbridge and RFA Bentwater, where the forest is in between them, those bases housed nuclear weapons. So they were very secure and they were somewhat, top secret bases. So, obviously that would be national security, even if those weapons weren't yours or something. If it was, I don't know how that works between, the U.S. government being in Britain and leasing these bases. But I would guess if there was nuclear weapons on them, they would have been U.S. weapons. But regardless, that's a national security issue if they get into the wrong hands somehow. I thought it was interesting, looking at that. I found this guy named Steve Lungaro. He apparently had witnessed the events, but kept quiet for quite a while and never really spoke about it. He was a police sergeant in the USAF, which is the United States Air Force. He was on duty the night of the incident, guarding the area where weapons were stored. He said that something triggered their alarm system, which was, for what it was protecting, it was a very detailed and technical system. So, this wasn't, your typical security system. It had probably lots of sensors, lots of alarms. So whatever happened actually caused that to trigger, so that's a little disturbing. And obviously that tells you that it wasn't, just some light phenomena, there was some kind of energy probably involved with it that would trigger something like this, right?
Well, I think maybe that, or maybe kind of a far-stretched idea, but maybe whatever was in the UFO was trying to get those nuclear weapons. Maybe their ship runs on nuclear fusion or something, which is why the area had trace radiation around it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And what else is if you look at, they call this the Britain Roswell incident, this Rendlesham Forest incident. And if you look at Roswell and you look at where Roswell took place, nobody has explained fully Roswell. There's been, I've heard that it was Stalin, had taken these, retarded or handicapped individuals and had altered their body, had their bodies altered and made them look like aliens. And they were like children, these children that were disabled or had issues. And they loaded them up on these flying saucers that they had developed and sent them over to... But who knows? If it was really aliens, and if, looking at your theory, if they run off, they need nuclear material to function. What I was getting to, got off on a tangent there, but Roswell... that's real close to the test site, Nevada test site. You've got, you've got a test site right there. So, you've got bases that have stuff that, it makes sense because a lot of these sightings, I've even heard of sightings and weird anomalies like this happening close to where missile silos are at. So, it makes a lot of sense. It's a little too coincidental.
We need to have some live footage cams on Chernobyl.
Chernobyl, yeah. This Steve Lungaro, who was the police, what did I say he was? Police sergeant? Yeah, he was police sergeant in the United States Air Force. He described the UFOs like this, quote, They looked like fluorescent colored lights, like red and green, glowing lights, and that's what they looked like. I could see them hovering over the treetops like an eye that was almost following everybody. It was real kind of quiet, and this thing hovering over the trees, and you were like kind of tracking it and like, what is this? And it was like following, it was like watching us. That's what it looked like to us. It seemed like something watching us. From what I remember, it was like a glow. It was really glowing like a reddish greenish light. It was really glowing like something was really, really hot, and it was just, had this glow like metal, like glowing metal, I guess. And another interesting thing is he backs up everything that Lieutenant Colonel Halt had stated about the incident. He also confirmed the widely believed fact that nuclear weapons were housed at that base. However, they did say that the UFO never shone its lights, or it never got close to that area of the base where those weapons were housed. But it's interesting that this would happen at a place where, this would happen. Now, the story has some twist to it, and there's one of the guys that was one of the first people to show up on that scene is named Jim Peniston. And he, after a number of years, he went and did hypnotic regression. I guess I don't know if he did it on his own or if they made him. I don't know. But after that, it supposedly pulled out memories that he didn't know he had or something. So he claimed that after doing this hypnosis, he claimed that he actually touched the object and that he walked around it for like 45 minutes and studied it. So in 1994 is when he went under hypnotic regression, and has stated that he touched the object and studied it for 45 minutes, walked around it numerous times. He claims the occupants were not actually extraterrestrials, but humans from the future. He also claimed that the object had some kind of writing on it, or the craft. I don't know. A lot of people have said, well, he didn't touch it. We were there and he didn't touch it. But, in a lot of cases dealing with UFOs, dealing with alien abduction and stuff, people come up and lose track of time. Who knows? Even though they're not saying it in here, who knows? Weird things happen with these things. And I think when people question him about this, he claims that he actually saw the UFO in a different area from where everybody else saw it or something like that. So it's
pretty strange, yeah. And that's a very human thing to do, to put writing on an aircraft. Because in most of the alien and UFO sightings that I've come across, I've never heard someone say that there's been writing on the UFO itself, on the aircraft or hovercraft itself.
Well, they said that, on Roswell, they said that. They said there was some kind of writing, like hieroglyphics or something on the...
if you think humans have been putting writing on aircraft, just make an aircraft,
Yeah.
What's the purpose of putting writing on it?
Yeah.
It shows intelligence,
Yeah. Well, I think maybe it wasn't hieroglyphics. Maybe they said in Roswell it was Japanese writing. Was it Japanese?
I'm not sure.
I can't remember. But I know that... I was going somewhere with that. It's gone. I don't know. But yeah, they said that there was some kind of writing on it, but obviously they didn't know what it said because it would have... You think they would have recalled that, but... 2 nights after the incident, the initial incident happened, which was on the 26th of December. Actually, it might have been the 27th of December, like early in the morning. I'm not sure if it happened at 3 a.m. on the 26th or 3 a.m. on the 27th, but that was when the initial sighting was. 2 nights later, the deputy base commander, who was Lieutenant Colonel Charles Hall, encountered the UFO along with some team members, some people. He went out there because he was out there investigating. This was what his quote was about that. He said, "Here I am, a senior official who routinely denies this sort of thing and diligently works to debunk them, and I'm involved in the middle of something I can't explain." So he, always said that he saw what he saw, and these guys, as they said, it happened to them. That's what happened. It's interesting that there's some dialogue that happened between him and the actual base commander at that time. So he was the deputy commander. The base commander's name was Colonel Ted Conrad at that time. There's documentation where Ted Conrad had said, basically, these boys saw something out here. They saw something. They know something happened. And he was in full agreement that they were, complete. And I think there was a period where he actually saw some of the lights, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's what happened. In 2010, the base commander at that time, Colonel Ted Conrad, issued a statement about the incident. Conrad stated that nothing was seen that resembled what Lieutenant Colonel Halt describes. He then went on to criticize Halt for claiming, basically, Lieutenant Colonel Halt, the deputy base commander at that time, claimed that the U.S. and Britain were they're basically like a conspiracy theory. They were covering up what happened at Rendlesham Forest. So basically, Colonel Ted Conrad turned about face in 2010 and said he should be ashamed of himself, claiming conspiracy theory, blah, 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 and that the U.S. and Britain are working together to cover this up. He should be ashamed of himself. Nothing happened. Nobody saw nothing. When there's documentation that in 1980 where he said, yeah, these boys saw something out there, and, it should be noted that over the years between, after what happened, Colonel Conrad, Ted Conrad, who was the base commander at that time, had made conflicting comments about the whole incident. So, it sounds like he was just, I don't know, off the chain. It sounds almost like maybe somebody got to him and told him, you need to turn this around. It seems kind of weird, though, that it would happen 30 years later, 1980 to not 2010.
It's true.
I don't know. You would expect something like that to happen, like, immediately. Like, just squash it like a bug. It is one thing also to note that a number of people have tried to blame this incident, tried to debunk it and say it was a lighthouse that was like 5 miles away or something, or it was naturally occurring, light anomalies that happen. And I mean, we hear about light anomalies. We got the Brown Mountain Lights up in North Carolina. There's a number of places. The place in East Texas, the Saratoga Lights or whatever. I actually just heard about that on the confessionals today. I've actually heard about it, but they were talking about it on the episode I listened to. And I think there's one up. There's quite a few of them, around the country, where they have these anomalous light things happen in woods or down roads where people see lights and stuff, and we've seen them on, Fact or Fake, Destination Truth, that makes sense. Things like that happen, but from these guys' description, it was much more than that. So yeah. I don't think you can even put that in the same scenario. A lot of people say it was Soviet Cosmos 749 satellite. On the 25th of December of 80, so just a day before, 2 days before this happened, many witnessed across southern England had just after 9 p.m. on the 25th of December had witnessed a bright light or flash in the sky, and it was the final stage of the rocket from this Soviet Cosmos somewhere. I guess the satellite being launched. So I don't know. Who knows? Honestly, what happened, but it's a very interesting case. I'd like to maybe dig in it some more, and maybe we could do another episode that digs in a little, because there's a lot of, there was a lot of. Most of them were military witnesses, but there were a lot of civilian witnesses also. And it's interesting after the fact how stories twist and turned. Most of it, I think, from this hypnotic regression stuff and the talk of some drugs being at play, maybe the government doing, I don't know. I didn't dig into that too much. So that would be an interesting thing to see, how the story was they tried to tweak it. I guess, to me, it would be harder, my thought process. In 1980, you didn't have the technology you have today. And you're in a foreign land releasing bases from a foreign country. And, if something like that happened, it seems to me like it'd be harder for the government to control it and try to squash it. And it actually sounds like they didn't. So that's almost suspicious in itself. Usually the government, whenever something, you hear any kind of government entity when something's encountered or, those guys are threatened. What? Go ahead.
Yeah, it was a weather balloon.
Yeah. They either, like Roswell. There was a flying saucer crash. No, wait a minute. We were just kidding. It's a weather balloon. Yeah, it was a weather balloon. Can you believe that? It was a weather balloon. It just looks like a flying saucer. Oh, yeah, by the way, there's this mystery metal that, you can't crinkle. You roll it up and it just springs back to shape.
You can't burn. You can't cut. You can't tear. You can't destroy.
Yeah. But it's the craziest weather balloon we've ever seen. And, it's the same situation here. You hear it with Bigfoot all the time. National Park, guys will go on these shows and claim, okay, these things are real. The government knows about them, but I can't tell you my name because I'll lose my job. I've been told that, or I'll disappear from the map, or something like that, or have some mysterious guys show up in a 1972 Lincoln that's in mint condition, and
blacked out windows and But I feel like that would be kind of a funny thing to do as well. Like if you're a park ranger, just be like, there's nothing out there, just like bears and stuff. You just go and be like, Bigfoots exist.
Yeah.
I know about it. I can't tell you my name or the government's going to wipe me off the map.
But I'm wearing a Smokey the Bear hat. And it's legit.
They exist.
And they like Jack Links.
They do like Jack Links. I bet you they do.
I bet they would. They like Zagnut bars.
Yeah.
But who doesn't like a Zagnut bar?
That's also true.
So. And we heard from that other show they like Coors Light, the Silver Bullet, apparently.
Yeah. Spirit water.
Yeah, that was funny. Spirit water. Oh, that's awesome. So, I don't know. It's crazy. It's a crazy incident. It's awesome. I like it because it happened in 1980 and not like 1947. Roswell's an awesome thing. That's probably going to be, in a future episode digging into that because I've actually got a book sitting on my desk right now. On my nightstand about Roswell. So I got to get around to that, but I'm a slow reader. We've already discussed all that. So.
I think the coolest thing ever, that could ever happen, would be these pods come out of the sky and land in every densely populated and in every neighborhood and everything. Just trillions of them all over the world.
Trillions.
In every spot. And
yeah.
laying down and open up, and it's like a little help desk kiosk. And you go up to it and you ask any question and they answer it for you. Anything about any creature, any...
Have you been in Nevada?
Any...
Smoking some of that legalized weed?
Any phenomenon, any universal question. How cool that would be.
Oh, okay.
Do Bigfoots exist? What happened at Roswell?
Please come to the Lord's help desk.
Yeah.
Don't let the devil jump in and steal your family. What about I thought you were gonna say something like they come down and they want a little bit of Trump's hair or something.
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny too.
It defies physics.
Yeah, we've seen your leader's hair. It can fly.
It defies gravity. We need some because we're bald. Have you noticed? And we need some of his suntan too, because we're pasty white or gray.
That's what I always thought was weird. People talk about aliens or gray. Like, why can't aliens just be like humans, but like crazy?
Yeah, I mean, what I understand, I mean, if you got the technology to fly light years and light years, millions of light years to get here,
you're gonna look pretty strange.
can't you grow some hair or put some clothes on or something?
Yeah, you'd probably look pretty strange if you could survive light speed travel.
Yeah, I guess. But still, I mean,
That's true.
walking around all creepy, naked, showing up people's bedrooms and stuff. Come on.
Hello.
Get you some shoes on. They must not have mommies and daddies. Teach them. They didn't go to school and learn about putting on your shoes, tying your shoes.
They're just big microbes.
Yeah, I don't know. They're weird. They're creepy little things. While we were talking, I brought up something else I'd heard this week. I don't know. If I remember it, talk about it next week. I guess we've exhausted that for tonight, unless you got something else to add.
Nope.
You're just ready to go to the beach. Well, that's our show for tonight. We'll probably dig into this a little bit more in the future, but that's our first shot at it. And, if you're feeling generous, you can always help us out. Patreon.com/ I don't know. The link is on the show notes. I think it's just Unexplained Reality. But anyways, we're on Patreon. We always use a couple dollars to help us pay for hosting costs. And we'd like to eventually get a website stood up. We got some other things in the works that might come in the next couple months. So we'll see how that goes. But you can look at that link is in our show notes. If you have a request or an idea or you experience or you just want to talk, need somebody to listen to your story, feel free to hit us an email unexplained.reality@yahoo.com. If you'd rather talk on the phone, just hit us on that email and let us know that. We can arrange that. Or Skype or something like that. So, if you have anything and you don't know who to talk to, some weird experience or story, just let us know. We'll be willing to listen. Nothing too strange for us to listen to. You can hit us up on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Just look for Unexplained Reality or look in our show notes because it's all posted in there. I think that's it. Oh, we also have the YouTube channel. I think I finally got the YouTube channel working, and our shows actually post to the YouTube channel. Also, the audio does, so you can also listen to us there or your favorite podcaster. And as usual, rate us and review us. iTunes is the best if you get us from iTunes. If your podcatcher allows you to do it in there. We're not picky. It helps us tremendously. We're like one download from 3,000 downloads, literally right now. That's incredible because last week we were at 2,500 downloads, so we've done almost 500 downloads in the past 5 days.
Yeah, I feel like you just texted me and you're like, we hit 2,000 downloads,
Yeah, 2,500. I think it was like last Friday.
Crazy how the support that we're getting.
Yeah, that's awesome. So keep.
We must be doing something right.
For real.
Hey, somebody likes us. They like us. They like us. Okay. So awesome. And I guess we'll just roll out of here. You good with that?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do our normal spiel here. RickyYoung.com. Check him out. His music's great. Support him. Local guy. And we love his music. That's why we use it on our show. And he's so gracious to let us use it. If he knew what this podcast was all about, he'd probably say, no, take it off of there. I don't want to be associated with this.
We use his music. Obviously, it's good. No, we just play his music because we hate it.
His music's bringing us up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we might be bringing him down. We'd like to thank our favorite podcasts Sasquatch Chronicles, Sass what? Into the Fray Radio. Actually, is it Into the Fray? Into the Fray Radio. It used to be Into the Fray Radio. Maybe it's just Into the Fray Radio. Anyways, Into the Fray with Miss Shannon LeGros. I just butchered her name. OK Talk.
The Graylian Report.
The Graylian Report.
The Confessionals.
The Confessionals. Monsters Among Us.
Monsters Among Us.
Mysterious Universe.
Blue Skies? Question mark?
Somewhere in the Skies.
Somewhere in the Skies.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Ryan Sprague. It's a great one. All of those are great. All of them are great. And if you're listening to us, you definitely should be listening to them. Unless you just feel sorry for us. So.
But either way, even if you feel sorry for us, you probably should.
You should still listen to them, because if you're taking the time to listen to us, you should definitely be listening to them, because the guys they're all awesome.
Yeah.
I guess that's going to be a wrap. Are you good with it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Should we let Ricky lead us out of here?
Mm-hmm.
All right. We'll see y'all next week. Have fun. Harrison won't be with us. He'll be beaching it.
Beaching bumming.
Yep. See y'all later.
Mama wakes up to a high-pitched sound. Screams coming loud down through the hallway. She jumps out of bed to go find out. Lights turn on and tears are rolling down her baby's face. She goes and hugs her girl so she can feel a warm embrace. Reaches under the bed, said this is for these days. My mama gave me this when I was 6 years old. The first time I got scared and needed something to hold. If you hold it tight, it'll calm all your fears. She said, baby, I know it's a little bit worn. I've been saving it for you since the day you were born. Squeeze it tight and it'll soak up all your tears. Just know that you're safe now. And baby, you can lay down when you're holding on. Baby, just hold on to this little lay down doll. Got a little girl of hers on the way. She unpacks and uncovers a box with a faded doll stitched with grandma's socks, and she prays, oh God, let me lead the way my mama knew. She lays a doll on her stomach and feels a kick come through. She said, Mama, we'll give you this at 6 years old. First time you get scared and need something to hold. If you hold it tight, it'll calm all your fears. She'll say, baby, I know it's a little bit worn. I've been saving it for you since the day you were born. Squeeze it tight and it'll soak up all your tears. Just know that you're safe now. And baby, you can sleep now, as long as you're holding on. Baby, just hold on to this little lay down doll. And all the girls have grown up now, and grandma's fine tough now, and they came home to be by herself. 6 years old, when we were scared and needed something to hold. Now we want you to hold it, it'll calm all your fears. And they said, Grandma, we know it's a little roughed up, but it helped us get through when the nights got tough. And just like tonight's a soaking all your years, and just know that you're safe now. Grandma, you can go now, 'cause it was your love that made us all hold on to this little lay down dog. Mama wakes up to a high-pitched sound, screams coming loud down through the hallway.